in the past years, there was a lot of talk in the media from brass and front office people about, hey, we just want to get to the playoffs. And I think it's super healthy for a team to talk about, hey, we want to win a World Series. I don't care who's in our division. I don't care how much money they've spent.
Here we go. FP Santangelo joining us right now. He's dialed into the scene out in San Francisco. FP, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a minute. How's life?
Yeah, good to see you, Scott. Eric, AJ, thanks for having me on today. Life is fantastic. You guys got to post that commercial break what you just did on your social media. That was hilarious.
We will definitely post that. That was a new one for us.
Did you
We
play
go
with
in all
Felix?
different directions here.
I
FP, did you play
did.
with Felix? Did he not
I
have
did.
six fingers?
I don't remember that part, but I take your
Oh,
word for it. And I'm sure there's some guys, both of you guys have caught before that you would have wished you had a six finger for putting signs down.
now, true. Now, you played with Bob? Did you ever play with Bob Wickman? Because he was missing this tip of this finger, right? So that's why he could throw a cutter. So Bob Wickman looked like a bouncer. They called him the bouncer, and he was missing the tip of this finger, so he do cutters because he couldn't. This finger wasn't full. Now that's a true story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I probably had a nasty cut on it. Well, hey,
Yeah.
you do with what you're dealt with, I guess.
All right. So on that note, Justin Verlander signs with San Francisco. Blake Snell is gone. What do we think about the rotation? Big Willie style. Adames taking not just his talents, but his personality to San Francisco, and he has got a lot of it. Bryce Eldridge could finally be the first guy to crack the 30 homer code for the Giants since Barry Bonds. He's 6'7", he's a monster. And then Camilo Doval and his struggles last year after being an all-star in 2023. So let's start with the rotation. How are we feeling about Verlander entering the mixed? Yes, that's great. That does
Backwards
very
show.
much fit things. Yes, hat backwards show. Verlander enters the mix. Blake Snell is gone. There's a lot of young starting pitching talent in that rotation. Where do you think they're at?
Well, you guys are going to love this. I've been doing a lot of Fan Fest stuff, and I've been hanging out with Buster Posey and doing interviews with Buster and talking to him. And we just put all those graphics up showing what they did in the off season, and just talking to Buster and his resume and winning 3 World Series. He's trying to sign character guys and clubhouse guys, and he wants that clubhouse to be a tight unit. And he wants them. He wants the opponents to feel the Giants, whether you win or lose, to feel their presence. And when you guys think back to Buster Posey's teams in 10, 12, and 14, whenever you played the San Francisco Giants, you knew you were playing the Giants, whether you beat them or not. They were scrappy on offense. They pitched the heck out of it. They caught the heck out of it. And I think that's what they want to get back to. And no offense to the past regime and people that were here before, but there was never a lot of talk about getting to a World Series. I mean, they have 3 trophies on the corner of 3rd and King down there. AJ, you know that better than anybody. And in the past years, there was a lot of talk in the media from brass and front office people about, hey, we just want to get to the playoffs. And I think it's super healthy for a team to talk about, hey, we want to win a World Series. I don't care who's in our division. I don't care how much money they've spent. That this is the San Francisco freaking Giants. And I think with Buster at the helm, that they're going to get back to that. You talk about Willy Adames and Justin Verlander. Those are resume guys, but resume guys that can still play. And you guys probably know better than I do because you're more recent in the game, but I have never heard a bad word about Willy Adames. Like his clubhouse presence, we can see how he plays every day. And being a broadcaster, I don't fanboy about many players because you're with them every day and you respect them and you love what they do, and you live vicariously through them now. But as far as Willy Adames, man, I've loved watching him play from afar. I've talked to players that played with him. The clubhouse presence he has, what a nice guy. You guys know you can't win with just nice guys, but like he can play. And I think the fact that Buster's going after these guys says a lot about the direction the organization is trying to head, the culture they're trying to bring back to San Francisco.
And he's definitely a leader in that clubhouse, or he could be a leader in that clubhouse once he joins it. But the fear is just the same fear of any free agent that signs in San Francisco. Is his power going to go out? Will the park and the dew coming in, the marine layer coming in, squash his power like everybody else's?
Yeah, it might. I think you have to take the numbers, at least the power numbers in Milwaukee, right? That's a launching pad, Eric. You know that, and now you're playing in San Francisco, and baseball's meant to be played in the warm weather, and you're freezing your butt off every night. I remember when I signed with the Giants, I was at Candlestick, so I'm really aging myself. But the first month in April, I turned to JT Snow in the dugout. And I said, "How the hell do you guys do this? Like, I'm freezing my ass off every night. This is tough." But yeah, you get used to it. So maybe you water down the numbers a little bit, Eric. But like when you think about, I know it's not 2010, and this making me sound old, but the Giants never won a World Series by hitting home runs. They won a World Series by having a great starting rotation, having a great bullpen, catching the baseball on defense, and getting timely hitting. So I know there's a big beast down south that signed everybody in baseball and is defending World Series champions, and that's a daunting task for anybody in the National League West. But when you talk about the success the Giants have had in the past, I think they're trying to recapture that. Although you can't live in the past, right? The game has changed, analytics, new rules, but the formula is there, and you guys have won before, and you know what it takes. And a lot of times, it's not about the numbers; it's about the people you have in the clubhouse.
All right, FP, I got to go to the prospects now. You just mentioned it. They're not a home run hitting team. The last guy to hit 30 homers there was this guy, right? And if you don't know who this guy is, it's 25, okay? They got a guy in the minor leagues, Bryce Eldridge, that's 6'7". He's supposed to be a monster. Will we see him in 2025 at first base? And will he be the guy to break the Giants' curse of nobody can hit 30 homers?
He's a grown man. He's 19 years old, or maybe he's 20 now. I don't know. He's 6'7", drops bombs. If you guys, I've only seen video of his swing, but the video of his swing that like this guy can hit. Now, everybody there knows as an organization, it's a big chance. You're taking a big chance on a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old call him up. But when I was in D.C., Mike Rizzo called up Juan Soto when he was 19. Mike Rizzo called up Bryce Harper when he was 19. And that thing could go either way, right? If you have success, here we go, giddy up. If you don't, maybe you set him back a few years. But from everything I've heard, the video that I've seen, I mean, he's a grown man. Like he looks like he's 30 years old. He's 6'7". He's got the big league body. He's not skinny and gangly. He's all filled out. AJ, I heard your story about JT Snow and Barry Bonds the other day. They're actually sending JT down to spring training to work with Bryce Eldridge. I guess reports are he's a little rough at first base, but you guys know if you practice your defense and you care about your defense and you work at it every day, and you got a guy like Will Clark and JT Snow helping you out, I think the upside's really good on the defensive side. But yeah, it's going to be a tough decision. What if he goes into camp and he hits 450 with like 7 or 8 home runs in Scottsdale? Like, what are the Giants going to do then? And I think that's possible. So we'll see. All the reports are that this guy's the real deal, and he's kind of a guy you can build your franchise around at first base.
We already talked about how they're going to start the games, but Camilo Doval was an all-star in 23, led the league in saves. Last year in 24, didn't go too well. The WHIP was at 1.5. His ERA was in the close to the 5s. Is he going to be able to, one, get the opportunity to regain the closer role, and two, seize that opportunity and get back to that all-star form?
I don't know. Ryan Walker's pretty badass. So you guys have seen him with this stepping into the third base dugout, the crossfire. He's digging the role. He's got like a walkout lights thing going already. And at the highest level, you get the job done. It's your job. Camilo had a weird season last year, man. I don't know what was going on. He's always got the I don't care body language, which is great when you're pitching really well and the bases are loaded in the bottom of the ninth. And Tranquilo Camilo's his nickname, and he's super calm. But when you're not dealing and you have that body language, it could be taken the wrong way. So hopefully he figured some things out in the offseason. His fastball command wasn't there last year. His slider command wasn't there last year. And it got to the point where Bob Melvin had to put somebody in that was getting the job done, and that was Walker. And he's as dirty as anybody I've seen in a long time. So the Giants need him, though. I mean, if the Giants are going to do anything and get to October baseball and get to the playoffs and do what they did in 10, 12, and 14, they need a guy like that in the back end. Because when he was an all-star, he was unhittable. He was throwing 102 miles an hour with like a 96-mile-an-hour wipeout slider. But confidence is everything. And for some reason last year, Camilo Doval lost his confidence.
Now, you brought up Ryan Walker. Ryan Walker is actually coming on tomorrow. And what do we need to know about? What do we need to ask him, somebody that's watched him a lot closer than we've watched him? Because only times I've seen him, he's been the opener. Now I hear he's no longer going to be the opener guy. Maybe a dark horse all-star if he's allowed to close for the entire first half?
Yeah, man. First of all, have 100 questions ready, because you're gonna
Okay.
he's not gonna be talking a lot. He's super shy, but he's a great kid, man. He's like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in the whole world. And yeah, I don't know that the world knows about him yet, but yeah, that would be a good sneaky pick for an all-star. Um, I wouldn't want to hit against him right-handed. And I definitely, well, left-handed. I definitely wouldn't want to hit against him right-handed when he's throwing behind you with that nasty slider. And his velocity upticked as a closer. I just talked to him. We did a fantasy camp down in Scottsdale for the Giants, and he came and talked to all the fantasy campers one day. Just the sweetest kid in the whole world. But like his velocity went from 95, 96 to 97, 98. And he was a guy that just the adrenaline of the ninth inning, he embraced it. Some guys, you've caught those guys where they kind of run from the spotlight in the ninth inning and they don't like the responsibility of being the last guy on the mound and shaking hands after the game. He embraced it. He loved it. His confidence grew every single outing. And I think right now, if you ask guys in the clubhouse, that's their closer. Unless Camilo Doval comes in and just does some crazy stuff, like Ryan Walker's their guy.
All right. I was going to ask you something completely different, but now since you brought it up, fantasy camp. I don't care what Scott says. Fantasy camp, did you pull a hammy? Did you play? And what position did you play?
I didn't play. I was a coach.
Come
I was
on.
a skipper.
You got to get
I was
out
a skipper. I was a skipper. JT Snow was a skipper. George Contos and Jeremy Affelt, and we drafted players. You guys, it was like real life fantasy, like league. And these people love baseball more than we do. Like we did it for a living, right? They're just so passionate about the game. They love the game. And I said, sure, I'll do it. The Giants kind of put me in charge of, from the players side of it, of getting coaches and rounding guys up. So we went down there in Scottsdale. We're like, oh, free trip to Scottsdale. This is going to be fun. From a selfish standpoint, you guys, it's the funnest week I've had in years. These people love the game. We had kangaroo court every morning. And in the big leagues or even in the minor leagues, that kangaroo court can get weird, right? Because guys have egos and you find them for stuff. And you're like all of a sudden going, ooh, this is gonna cause a little team dissension. It was so organic down there that we laughed so hard. We cried every morning. We played games in the afternoon. I've never been to one. Like I highly recommend fantasy camp to anybody. It was really cool. We all had a blast down there. And then all of a sudden the competitive juices start coming out. It's like a doctor, a lawyer, a father and a son, a brother and a sister, a husband and a wife. But they put that scoreboard on and there's runs up there. And I was yelling at umpires. Like we had side bets going on games between the coaching staff. It was pretty cool. We had a blast.
All right. Well, you brought up the team to the south. And one of the questions that Scott Braun always asks on here, why even play the games? I mean, they're going to go 162-0, so why should they even play any games? Why should the Giants ever just forfeit their 13 games and move on, right?
Absolutely. Just go straight to the World Series. Just fast forward to October. We all sit at home and do nothing for 6 months. And then we watch the Dodgers play, I don't know, the Yankees. And then we just watch what you get. Hey, no one's ever won a World Series in January. No one's ever won a World Series in February. I mean, they look great on paper, the defending world champs. The thing I like the most about them is with all the superstars they have, whether it's Freddie or Mookie or Shohei, you go down the list, those guys play the game the right way. I mean, they all check their egos at the door. They're in to win. I mean, obviously, they're taken care of for the rest of their life. But we've all been in situations where those big contracts sometimes change people. And to their credit, man, they move runners over. They get guys in. They play good defense. They run the bases aggressively, intelligently. They're all in for Doc. I mean, as much as you like to hate the Dodgers, man, I think they won the World Series last year because they played baseball the way it's meant to be played. They played the game the right way.
All right, FP, last thing before you go. You said something before we got on fantasy camp. You said you think the Giants can make the playoffs. Now, Pecota, who's not always the greatest at predicting things, put out their prediction today. We're going to dig into them a little bit. They're at 77.9 wins. How can they win more than that in a division with LA, Arizona, and San Diego probably better than them, or LA, and people can make an argument they're better than where the Giants roster is right now. How can they be better than this projection of 77, 78 wins and make the postseason and make the Giants fans happy again?
Yeah, yeah. Those predictions, you guys know a lot can happen during the course of a 6-month season. It doesn't look good, right? They haven't had some great seasons. They've done so many things where you watch them on a nightly basis. And I'm up in the booth doing games, and we'll go to commercial. I'll turn to my partner and go like, "What are we doing? Oh my God, there's another base running mistake. They threw to the wrong base. They didn't keep the double play in order." So saying all that and then talking to Buster and being around a lot of the players this winter, they're all in Scottsdale together. The whole team's been down there for about a month or so. Half the guys live there. They've been practicing, on their own together. So they get to know each other. They get to know Willy Adames. Willy Adames is turning double plays with Tyler Fitzgerald, who's going to move to second base. And I think if they play fundamentally sound baseball, and if you do that, you guys have been on teams that have done that. You don't have to have the most talent to get to October. You don't worry about any other teams. You isolate yourself and you're like, it's all about us in this clubhouse. But if you play fundamentally sound baseball, you take your walks and hand the baton to the next guy. You run the bases smart. You're aggressive on the bases. They're going to steal a lot of more bases or try to this year. You play good defense. You catch the ball. You throw strikes. You got a good back end of the bullpen. You could win a lot of games. And if you play fundamentally sound baseball, you look up after 6 months and you've won a lot more games than you've lost. Yeah, do you need the horses? Do you need the Freddie Freemans, the Mookie Betts, the Ronald Acuna Juniors? Do you need Juan Soto? Yeah, it's you have to have the horses to win a world championship. But to get to the playoffs and to compete, and I think that's a key word, compete on a nightly basis and play the game fundamentally sound and make sure that the broadcasters up in the booth aren't losing their mind during commercial breaks because you're doing silly things every night and you play consistently, fundamentally sound baseball, you got a chance to play in October, no matter who you are. I think we you guys see it. I don't, at the risk of sounding old, nobody runs the bases anymore in the big leagues. Nobody gets guys over. Nobody bunts anymore. Nobody takes their walks anymore. Well, not nobody, but most guys want to hit. And so I think if you play the game the right way, you got a chance to win at the major league level. But that's the key, right? Getting guys to buy into like hitting an 18 hopper to second to get the guy over and being 0 for 1.
Or you can run the bases like drunks and get to the World Series like the Yankees did. But the National League's a better league, so you just can't get away with that in the National League. But FT, thanks for providing some optimism and for the backwards hat. And good to see you, man. It's been a minute. We called some Nats games back in the day for YouTube and all that. So appreciate the time, man. Good to see you.
Scott, AJ, Eric, man, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege. You guys do a great job. I watch all the time, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, love to hear that. And everyone give FP a follow at FP_JR on Twitter. You can catch him a little bit on KNBR and other spots coming up this season. FP, talk soon.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.